If Borno and Yobe were a country of their own, they were poorer than Niger and Cameroon and Chad. But we didn't realize it. So why are we surprised that that area is unstable?
How come that the state that started Sharia is not the one that is the most educated state? In fact, how come that in that state in 2017, only 24 children got 5 credits in secondary school? How do we define Sharia? How do we define Islam? Illiteracy?
Check our political life. All the debates that happen, governors seeking elections, presidents seeking elections, senators seeking elections, the topics that are discussed. Can you tell me, when last did you see a debate where politicians talked about what they are going to do about girl child education, about forced marriage, about domestic violence, about the rights of women who are divorced and left with children uncatered for? Educate the girl, and she has a job. She's not going to have a baby every year. She'll space her children. She will educate them. Instead of going to borrow billions of dollars to build deep sea ports and build flashy airports and bridges and overheads and underpasses, let's go to the World Bank and the African Development Bank and borrow billions of dollars and invest in educating these girls, and let us see the result in the next 20 years. We have a constitution that says we must have a governor and a deputy governor and a state house of assembly in every state, 36 states. You have a president and a vice president and a minister from every state. You have 109 senators, over 300 members of the House of Representatives. You have 774 local government chairmen. In each local government, you have 10 councillors and a speaker. A retinue of special advisors and assistants, and you are surprised that you cannot pay salary? I mean, really? We are surprised that we're spending 80-90% of our revenue on public servants? Oh, that's the system we designed. So you want to have a conversation on restructuring? Let us have a conversation. How do you reduce costs of governance without amending this structure? Do we need 40, 30 legislators in every state? Do we need 500 legislators in Abuja? Must we have 36 ministers or more? This is a constitutional conversation. When Africans were taught to migrate in the 17th century, held in chain and put in ships and taken to plantations to work as slaves, was that bad? When Europeans migrated to Algeria and Tunisia and South Africa and Nigeria and set up colonies and settler colonies and apartheid systems, that was migration. Why wasn't that bad? Don't we realize that Africans are migrating to Europe because of the world in which we have created? We've signed up global agreements. Why is it okay for you to sit in New York and London and bring in X billion dollars into the Nigerian capital market, buy shares, buy currency, make profit, take it back, but bad for the Nigerians to follow that money and try to share in that prosperity? It's a conversation we must have. The global agreements we have signed. We build highways, beautiful roads in the north. You go to northern cities, beautiful roads. There are more pedestrians on those roads than cars, and the pedestrians are begging. You don't need a highway to beg. You don't need it. We build the roads for our nice, flashy cars. We don't want to go into potholes. We call it development.
development for who? For us. We want to drive smoothly. We don't want to pay the mechanic. And we don't care that the vast majority of our compatriots don't have the cars, don't ride in cars, and are not likely to own cars because we have not educated them. The money that went into those roads should have gone into educating them.
The British came here and set up a colony. What did they want? They wanted raw materials and a market for their goods. We don't have the British today, but we're still exporting our crude oil to Britain and importing petroleum products. They don't even need to have colonial officers. We do it ourselves. We're keeping the refineries open. The largest export of the United Kingdom to Nigeria is what? Petroleum products. And we are an oil-producing country. So I'm happy somebody is building a refinery. I'm happier that the person is from Kano. But we need to have more. Why should we export cotton to China and import textile products? Why should we export our hides and skin and import shoes? And this is not rocket science. Ethiopia told the Chinese, gentlemen, come, what do you need to set up a factory here? They told them, they invited them, they set up a factory right there outside Addis, employing 5,000 people, producing shoes and bags and selling to Yves Saint Laurent and Gucci. And the leather in Kano is called Moroccan leather, the best leather in the world. Come and set up the factory in Kano. And the skin we don't sell, we sell to Lagos, pepper soup. We consume our own GDP. It's a delicacy. We've got to look at these things. And they're simple. The Chinese didn't start building rockets. We're not talking about building computers, which is great to think about it, or building Aston Martin cars. No, please. Okay? Why don't you just turn your cotton into fabric, turn your fabric into garment and sell? Turn your hides and skin into leather, turn your leather into shoes and bags. And we used to do this centuries ago. 17th century, Kano was exporting shoes and bags, trans-Sahara, to the Arab world, $5 million worth. In the 18th century, economic history.
So it's fine to say to a rural villager, you should send your daughter to school. But it's not fine to say to the governor, why haven't you built a school? You don't have food security. You've got millions of children out of school. It's not the fault of the children that they're out of school. Somebody was supposed to build those schools. The difficulty for traditional institutions is, on the one hand, they're firefighters, and will continue to do that. On the other, to actually address the root causes of extremism, you've got to address questions of governance, education, healthcare, corruption. And to do that is now political states. So you have state governors in the north who have 3 million, 5 million children on the streets without school. They go to China and they're looking for money not to build schools, but to build a light rail. You spend $2 billion on a light rail. $2 billion. Imagine how many children you would educate with that.
Nobody who is a leader in northern Nigeria today can afford to be happy. You can't be happy with 87% of the poverty in Nigeria being in the north. You can't be happy with millions of northern children out of school. You can't be happy with 9 states in the north contributing almost 50% of the entire malnutrition burden in the country.
You can't be happy with the drug problem. You can't be happy with the Boko Haram problem. You can't be happy with political thuggery. You can't be happy with all the issues, the Almajiri problem that we have. I'm not speaking theory. I was governor of the central bank. In 2011, the federal government earned $16 billion from the oil sector. The country spent $8 billion importing petroleum products and $8.2 billion subsidizing products. 100% of what we earned in the oil sector went out to import petrol. You are treasurers. Is this sustainable? The country will be bankrupted. And we are heading to bankruptcy. It is so crucial. What is so life-threatening about petroleum price that we have to sacrifice education, sacrifice health, sacrifice infrastructure so that we can have cheap petrol and risk the financial health of the country?
Why is it that a child who is able to read the Quran from Baqarah to Nas is considered an illiterate and the system has no place for him? We must ask those questions. Why can't the educational curriculum be expanded to accommodate other languages? Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, Arabic. You can teach English as a language, but what is so special about English that for you to study, it is so bad that if you want to do BA Hausa, if you don't have credit in English, you will not get admission into the university. I mean, how sensible is that? I've looked into the eyes of poverty. I have seen the despair. I've seen the hopelessness. I've seen the anger. And I've seen the consequences. Drug addiction, political thuggery, kidnapping, religious extremism. My own mosque was bombed. I was the target. I was just lucky. I was out of the country. I was the target. But on that day, in one day, 200 people were killed in prayer. I buried charred corpses. And it's not religion. It is poverty and marginalization and the refusal of those of us in this room to realize that Nigeria is bigger than all of us, and that the people that are important in this country are not the people in this room, but people who can never enter this room.